James 1:27 makes it pretty clear that where God articulates what he deems as true religion, being caring for orphans and widows in their distress. Not everyone's going to adopt, but to care for orphans is non-negotiable. It's not a commandment, it's a definition of what true religion really is. And this is one real tangible way that you can really use the treasures that God has entrusted into your care to reach into the lives of those who otherwise may not have the opportunity to hear of the love of Christ. And I'm Steve Gardner. We've been married 25 years, and I'm actually a school teacher.
We have 3 biological children. Peter is 23, and Aaron is 21, and Susanna is 18. The first adoption was Rebecca from China. She was 5.5 when we adopted her, and now she's 17. The second adoption was Deborah from Russia. She was 4.5 when we adopted her, and now she's 14. The third adoption was John from India. He was about 9 when we adopted him, and now he's 15. And then there were a few years that went by, and then we adopted Andrew and Dinah from Ethiopia, and Andrew was 9 and Dinah was 1, and now they're 12 and 4. And then we adopted Julia from the Disrupted Adoption, although she's also from Ethiopia, and she was 10 when we adopted her, now she's 12. And then we adopted Philip, who was 10 at the time, Nathaniel, who was 8 at the time, and Leah, who was 3, and now they're 11, 9, and 4.
Well, first, Michelle was more enthusiastic about adoption than I was, and so it took a little bit longer for me, and but praying through it, and it was amazing how he led us to, or particularly me, to different individuals who'd adopted. And after a while, I began to listen and realized, yeah, this really was something that God was leading us toward.
We started hearing about all the little girls in China that were in orphanages a lot because of the one-child policy, and so we decided that we could adopt one child, and that was Rebecca, who had a cleft lip and palate. She was 5 when we adopted her, and we thought that would be it.
Well, the financial barriers were huge. Having been missionaries, and then we came back to the States, and I was a pastor, and now a school teacher. You don't make a lot of money in any of those occupations, and yet we also recognize that God owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, and if he chooses to sell one of those cows and send the proceeds our way, that it would work out. But it's a huge barrier, and now we've done it 9 times, and each time I look back and I just think, where did the money come from?
We really like the model where, at least for us, they gave a matching grant so that if people donated, then they matched what people donated up to a certain amount. And I think there are many, well, we've seen there are many, many people who are not really planning on adopting themselves, but they believe in it and support it, and they will donate to make it possible for someone else. And we've seen how $25 gifts, $50 gifts really add up. And some people, of course, are willing to make larger donations, but it's those gifts that enabled us to adopt the children. So those children are going to have the opportunity to learn about the Lord and to be raised in a family that really desires these kids to follow him. And I would say it's one of the best things that you can invest your resources in, because it's a child, and this is a child that you can really make a difference in their life, not just now, not just by helping them have an education and medical care and a loving family for now, but that you can make a difference in their life for eternity. I don't see any other thing that you could invest your resources in that could make such a difference for eternity.
I've been living at the orphanage for about 3 years, and I never heard that I was going to get a family for those 3 years. So I just thought that I wouldn't get adopted, but a long time later I just found out that I have a family, and I was happy.
Even though a lot of things I don't like happened back then, before I came here, I think God knew what he was doing to get me through stuff so I can come here.